Selamat datang ke ASM Podcast yang dibawakan khas oleh Akademi Sains Malaysia. Siri podcast ini merupakan platform perkongsian topik-topik berkaitan sains, teknologi, inovasi dan ekonomi STIE secara santai dan mudah difahami. Setiap episod akan menampilkan jaringan pakar ASM yang akan berkongsi pengalaman dan pendapat mereka tentang STIE seiring dengan etos ASM. Budayakan sains, raikan teknologi, cetuskan inovasi. Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. On today's episode, we will dive deep into the often overlooked yet crucial topic of wellness in the workplace. I'm your host Nazmi and I'm thrilled to be with you on this special episode in honor of World Mental Health Day. The workplace can be a source of inspiration and stress in today's fast-paced world, but it's time we started prioritizing our mental well-being as much as our productivity. So whether you're an employee looking for ways to navigate the challenges or an employer seeking to create a more supportive environment, you've come to the right place. In this episode, we are joined by Dr. Zainal Ariffin Ahmad. Dr. Zainal, a fellow of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, has worn many hats. He's been a guiding force from shaping national occupational standards to being a certified coach and mental health facilitator. Beyond academia, he's been an advisor, a researcher, and a champion of organizations like the International Association of Coaching. As Vice President of the Malaysian Association of Facilitators, he's been pivotal in advancing the field. Today, he will bring us on a journey to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster a workplace culture that's not only productive, but also compassionate. So grab your headphones, get comfy, and join us. Together, we'll explore stories, share insights, and provide practical tips to empower you to thrive mentally at work. So, Dr. Zainal, welcome to ASM Podcast.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, let's start off with what are some misconceptions or myths about the workplace stress that you've come across during your practice?
Okay. Alhamdulillah, thank you Nazmi for inviting me, and I'm so happy to be able to share with the audience some of the things that came from our research as well as from literature. A lot of this information I've already compiled, and you are free to share with the listeners. Now, when you talk about myth of stress and burnout, one of the things we must understand, stress is harmful to the health as well as in terms of the wellness or well-being of the individual. We cannot sweep it under the carpet, and in an organization, I am glad that on this day we are able to talk freely about it now. Yeah. So coming back to your point, what are the myths? There were 5 myths by Paula Davis. And she highlighted this. One, stress and burnout means you are weak and cannot handle stress. No. A strong person can also have stress. He or she may not be showing it, but deep inside, kalau in Malay, it's called remuk. Dalam, you don't know. Yeah? So he's going through or she's going through that right now. Stress or burnout requires a major work or life changes. That is one myth where people think that they have to change their whole lifestyle. Not necessarily. Sometimes it takes a change in habit. For example, to sleep early. That could actually help you to overcome stress. You have to keep burnout or stress a secret. In our culture, kita panggil pendam dalam, or you keep inside. That's not healthy, because at times when it's cooped inside, you come to a point where you suddenly blow everything out of proportion. And worse still, it can affect you medically, where you can get a stroke or heart attack.
Yeah.
So that's something that, again, please dismiss this myth. Yeah. Another thing that we also hear, take a vacation day. Then you come back refreshed. Not necessarily. You vacation one day, stress is still waiting for you at the office when you come back.
Yeah, we need to address it properly.
You need to
instead
address
of
it properly.
running away from it.
Correct. And the last myth, if you're burnt out, it means that you are also depressed. Now, depression and burnout and stress, some people lump them all together. But actually, again, you need to talk to a clinical person about this. They're very different. So we need to handle this differently. So I hope I've answered you the 5 myths of stress. And when we talk about stress, we cannot run away from burnout also.
True. Yeah, I agree that we need to address stress properly, and it could be the tipping point, or like the domino that crashes into everything and causes all these emotional breakdowns.
Correct.
And also having it channeled in a not healthy manner.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now that we know that stress exists in the workplace and it will affect us negatively, but not all professions are created equally. So, doctor, what specific industries or professions that are more prone to workplace stress?
Okay.
And why do you think these professions are more stressful?
More stressful. Okay. On this note, if I can call upon the audience, those in the audience who are in academic field, I would call upon you to do a study on this for Malaysia. Because when I looked into the literature, there's so much literature in the West, but we cannot find it in Malaysia per se.
Very true.
Yeah? So, the top 8 professions that is stressful, based on literature, and all of this is already published in the literature, and you can see this in the reference list. Yeah, first, healthcare, nurses and doctors. I salute you. The studies that were cited showed that 80% of the nurses and doctors are stressed. Then, education, my field. Yeah. Education, teachers, 80% of the teachers in UK say they are stressed. And again, later we're going to talk about symptoms. One of the symptoms as well as the source of stress is workload. Yeah? So we'll talk about that later. Hospitality, chefs and hospitality workers, they are highly stressed. Partly because of their work environment where everything has to be fast and have to be perfect. So this is some of the things that was highlighted by the chefs, both in UK, Australia, New Zealand, as well in US. And you notice, I cannot find the literature for Malaysia. Yeah?
And I think this would include like the service workers working in front of the guests and customers.
Correct. You're talking about what do you call the desk people, the people in the hotels, waiters and waitresses. So they are all in this hospitality industry. Now, legal system. Okay. Solicitors in the UK found that they are very highly stressed, especially those working in small firms compared to the larger firms. Because larger firms, you can actually spread the workload. In the smaller firms, everything is dumped on you. Yeah, and again, I'm a K-drama fanatic now after retirement. You can see that so true, not only in the UK, even in Korea. How they portray the lawyers, the prosecutors, their desk is all full of cases. Yeah. Now, the people in the media industry, the journalists, that is one of the highly stressed profession, and partly because, and highlighted by them, their work location. Some may be in location where it is not safe. So that is part of the contribution. Some, they have to give immediate feedback on what is happening, and that actually causes a lot of stress for them. Then our what do you call unsung heroes, the social workers. Social workers, they work with families and individuals to help them solve their problem. However, the social workers themselves undergo a lot of stress. So the literature is replete with, there's a lot of literature on that. Yeah. Then, surprisingly, the people in the technology and finance.
Oh, technology also.
Technology.
Okay.
When I read up on this, I was like, why the technology people? However, I now understand. See, now we expect technology to change every 3 months. Your handphone, your new handphone will comes out in every 3 months. The people behind the handphones, the software engineers, the designers, and what have you, they are working on time bomb to make sure that everything gets ready within that period. So that explains why the people in the technology field as well as in the finance field also have this what they call stressful work environment. Last but not least, the people in the mental health industry or the mental health facilities. The mental health professionals, day in, day out, they deal with people, trying to help people with their mental issues, mental health issues. However, some of them may not be able to protect themselves because, even though you say, yes, I'm professionally trained to deflect, but somehow or other it may affect you. And the literature shows that. Yeah. So those are the top 8 industries, and this is again validated by research.
I see. And what I can summarize from the list is like it mostly boils down to having a tight schedule, a tight deadline, facing with people generally, and also not being able to protect themselves because of the said tight schedule, deadline, and facing with people.
Right.
So everything just comes into the person and it slowly affects negative.
And what you just highlighted, what we call contributing factors or stressors. And if I can go through some of these other things, but before that, if I can ask the audience, on the following list of symptoms, see whether you're going through this. Yeah. So if I may read out some of the symptoms. Yeah. Do you find yourself hard to concentrate? Do you lose confidence? Find yourself losing confidence in your job? Do you feel not motivated or committed to your job? Do you find it hard to make decisions? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel more emotional or tearful or sensitive at times? Do you feel irritable and having short temper? And the list goes on. If you exhibit or if you have gone through any of this, let's look at the causes or what we call the stresses. Some of the contributing factors may include long working hours, heavy, high, or unmanageable workloads. In some profession, especially the professional and clinical people, high caseloads. Then high level of job demands. Pressure of accountability, especially in teaching, where there's a lot of accountability. Inspections, government policy changes, some even in pay. Some people may feel that what they do does not commensurate with the pay that they get. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we do. The magic 3-letter word, KPI. That is a dirty word in stress. So how do you overcome this? Later we'll talk about this.
Sure.
And then lack of time, deadlines, tight deadlines, lack of daylight. Some people, they don't even know whether it's night or day because they're cooped up in their office.
They go out to work before the sun comes up, and they go home after the sun goes down.
Correct. So this and you notice that God is great because God created sun and the sunlight to nourish your body.
True.
And here you are, cooped up in an aircon room. So some of these things will get to you and it will lead to stress. Now, limited budget is another issue. We also find that people get into professions that is high pressure and pressure to produce. And just as I mentioned earlier, fast-paced nature of the industry. The industry is changing so fast that you have to keep track of it. Then work location, as we talked about the journalist just now. Low level of resources. You're expected to do a lot, but you don't have resources to go. And that includes also human resources, staff. You're expected. Yes, understaffed. Then working conditions. And lack of control over your work. Job insecurity and relationship at work. One of the things that we also notice, and again, one of the research I would encourage people to look at is toxic environment and stress. We don't have much research in that area. Does toxic work environment lead to stress, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, and I think the recent phenomena of labeling anything and everything as toxic is not beneficial to pursuing an actual definition of the word, right?
Correct.
In the context of this healthy environment.
Healthy environment.
Yeah. So, you've already highlighted the symptoms, and from that list itself, I think I have 4 or 5 myself.
Okay.
So it helps that you are able to give us the list, but even though it's not a complete list. But sometimes people cannot see the forest for the trees, so they are too focused at work to realize that they are slowly drowning in stress.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, why do you think people are overlooking these signs? Is it intentional, or is it just that they're too occupied with their life?
Okay. One of the things that, many of us, we went through school and then we went through university for training. You notice or not, in the programs, there is no course that say how to handle stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the 40 or 50 courses that you have to take in a bachelor program is stressful in itself. Yeah. But people find that, okay, I can overcome my stress by working out, by walking, by doing a lot of things. And then you also find people resort to bad habits to overcome their stress. Again, I do not condone it, but some people go out drinking and things like that. Substance abuse, and so to answer your question just now, do they do it intentionally or unintentionally? It was never in our, if I may call it, a workbook or our guide to life, how to handle stress. However, now that you are in the working environment, somehow or other, you need, or the organization for this matter, and the managers for this matter, need to take what we call concerted effort in helping their employees how to manage this.
Yeah.
Now, some managers may say, "Oh, when I was your age, when I started out, I was stressed. I handled it okay. You should be able to do it okay." And again, as a conversational piece, yes, that's you.
True.
Every human is different.
Yeah, they handle stress
They
differently.
handle stress differently.
And it was a different time.
It was a different time, and with all of that, you cannot expect people. Then there's the element of culture. In our culture, Malaysia, you don't go and talk back to your boss. You don't go against the organizational culture. You just follow. So when the culture and again, some now people conveniently label their culture as toxic. Actually, stress is good and stress is bad. There is a model, Yerkes-Dodson model, that you can see that you need some level of stress, the eustress and the stress, to get your productivity going. Yeah? How you manage that stress in your organization, that's important. Now, when you have a very demanding boss, and you cannot speak out to them. Because when I was in the States for 11 years, my boss and myself, we always have conversations. How are you doing, Z? Are you okay? Is the job load? We lack that in Malaysia. Sometimes the bosses just go down to the coffee place, have a chat. Ask your employees, how are you coping with work? That's all it takes, to have that little care from the bosses. Yeah. Now, when you want to handle stress, if I may highlight it, in one of my colleagues from UTP, Noni, she was wonderful. She invited me to talk during COVID on what we call chat with Noni. And we looked at, okay, how do you handle mental health and stress at that time? There are 5 facets, and later on, we'll cover all of these 5. You need to take a look at handling stress at spiritual level, at mental level, at physical level, at physiological level, and emotional level. So if I just quickly highlight, what are these things, and what Noni and myself did to help others, we even made an ebook through USM. You can even get the ebook. Again, I'm not here to sell the ebook. No, if you want to help yourself, because this is a self-guide book. Yeah. When you talk about spiritual, it's your relationship with your Creator. Again, that's cut across all religion. Yeah, your spirituality. Then, your mental is your state of mind. Physical, your body. Listen to your body. Stress, strain, fatigue, they whisper to you.
True.
And to come back to what your point is just now, do you listen? You don't. You just log on, and that's why you stay until 12 midnight in the office. When you come back next morning, your body after some point of time will retaliate.
Yeah.
Okay, so be careful on that. And the last two, physiological, your internal health. If you are getting sick all the time, your body is telling you something.
Yeah.
Listen.
The immune system takes a toll.
Yes, the immune system takes a toll. And emotional. And that may be also when you talk about, from the movie where they showed all these emojis. Yeah, joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, acceptance, anticipation, surprise. All of this. In a normal person, you'll be able to appreciate each individually. In a stressed person, all of it come together that you do not know what you're feeling. Are you happy or are you sad? Are you joy or are you fearful? All of this get compressed. Yeah? And this will affect your relationship with others.
Yes, that's
So,
true.
listen to your body.
That's very, very accurate. I'm seeing all this inside myself.
Okay.
As you go, I'm just also assessing myself all those things.
Excellent.
All right. So, of course, if left unchecked, stewing in workplace stress would have terrible long-term physical and also mental consequences. What are these consequences, doctor?
Okay. Now, one of the things, if you listen to your body, and one of the things I did during my before my retirement, I went into neuroscience. So in neuroscience, you learn about the brain, you learn about the hormones and what have you. The stress hormone cortisol plays a number on you if you don't listen to your body. And what happens is that it will affect you in terms of your memory formation, decision making, hand-eye coordination, even to your brain volume. Be careful. Your brain or your hormones, it will do a number on you if you're not managing your stress well. Now, on the further extreme, if we look to our colleagues in Japan, stressful and burnout environments lead to a phenomena, what we call karoshi, which is the stress in the workplace that leads to death by overwork.
Wow.
Okay? So, I do not want to hear any organization in Malaysia when people come to work in the morning, they find their colleague sprawled in the office because he never went home. He stayed back and he had a heart attack or some other medical condition because of being overworked. Na'udzubillah lah. We do not want that to happen in Malaysia.
True.
But that is common in Japan. And they're trying to overcome that.
Okay. That sounds really, really terrible.
Yes. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm trying to raise this awareness, if I may call it awareness, that you need to enjoy work. And, work can be, there's some elements of stress in it, but not to the point where you work because of stress.
True.
Yeah?
And of course, what they say is work is never ending. You just finish your task for the day and you can go home and resume it tomorrow.
And God is great in the sense that your life is already arranged in, we can say 8 hours slots, or, it can mean many different slots. You have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of your own personal time. So it's how you break down your day that is important.
True. All right. So, based on what you have said just now, it is evident that facing workplace stress is unavoidable. But while facing minimal stress levels may be beneficial, long-term exposure to high stress in the workplace could be detrimental and even fatal, as you've said just now. Okay. So often in Malaysia, mental health is still an overlooked issue that is taken lightly or even dismissed totally in some cases. So even though the awareness has slowly increased over the past few years, employees can still have a problem with communicating about their mental health concerns to their employers for fear of ridicule, or even having the issues. Maybe this is not a personal This is I've read anecdotal evidence before. Having the issues weaponized against them.
Yes.
So employees must communicate their stress-related concerns with their employers, but how can they do this effectively?
Okay.
Without fear of any
fear.
consequences.
Earlier, I had shown you or shared with you the difference between the work environment I had in the US and the work environment I have in Malaysia. 11 years I in the US. I would have a conversation working in a university. The vice president will have coffee with me. And she would ask me, Z, how are you doing? Is work okay? Now, in Malaysia, that is something probably not the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even the vice president of your company. Your immediate supervisor may not want to go out and have coffee with you, because it's culturally and especially when you are different gender and things like that. There's a lot of other cultural things that come into play. But what I'm saying is, we must change that. We must change that. I'm seeing a change in the culture, the work culture. I retired in 2015. I'm still seeing a lot of the old practices where the bosses dump on the workers KPIs. You got to do this. You have to have this. I want it by tomorrow. It's like still happening. But I am also finding changes in some of the bosses where they become a bit more listening to their employees. Now, to answer your question, how can an employee approach the employer or the boss or the manager? One of the things, start with yourself. Here are 5 simple steps by one of the literature. If you Google, there's so many literature that will provide you some of these 5 steps. Now, 1, make a note of your symptoms. I listed so many just now. If you are going through more than 3, there's something that you need to address. Yeah. Now, determine what is causing it. We talked about the contributing factors just now. So you could actually highlight that. Then, brainstorm the solution. Before you go and meet your boss, be prepared.
True.
You cannot expect your boss to tell you what to do. You need to be able, okay, here's the problem, here's the solution. You need to be very solution focused. Yeah.
Agreed.
Then, for many of us, can I talk to my boss? I am so afraid to talk to my boss. Be afraid, but be brave. In the sense that, go to his office or her office and say, Puan or Tuan, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I need to discuss something personal that is affecting me and it might affect the organization. The minute you say it might affect the organization, his ears perked up. Okay, I don't want to get into trouble for this. Okay, then sit down with him. And what I usually do when I was in USM, my staff, they get very fearful of me because they know at the end of the day, when they have already left the office, I will lay out on their table things to do tomorrow.
Oh.
Now, they get very stressed. I did not know that. Because as a boss, I thought I was making their life simple because here's what you need to do tomorrow.
Yeah, just outlining everything.
Outlining everything. But in their mind, and they told me after my retirement, mind you, when you did that, we felt that, oh God, we have to meet your requirement. And the minute you go off on vacation and things like that, dia orang kata apa? Kita orang menari atas meja. We were so happy that you took the day off because there was nobody to put things on our table. Can you imagine? I was one of those guilty people, guilty bosses, and I thought I was doing them
A favor.
a favor. Yeah? Now, if all of this fail, you need to put yourself first. If the boss say, I don't care, you decided to work in our company, you deal with it. Now, if that comes to, or if it comes to that point, there are things that you can do. Now, here are 5 things that you can look at. 1, you can escalate your situation to either the HR department, or if you have what we call employee assistance program manager, you can talk to the employee assistant program manager or the social person in the organization. Some organizations have social group.
I see.
You can talk to them. You can also talk to the boss's secretary. One of the things I learned when I was working in the university, you know who's the most powerful people in the universities?
The secretaries?
It's not the vice chancellor. The secretary to the vice chancellor is the most powerful. The gatekeeper
Yeah, I agree.
is the most powerful person.
If they don't forward your documents, you won't be getting
You won't be getting anything. Yeah.
you won't be getting in.
Right. Now, if that does not work, you need to take paid or unpaid leave. You need to recoup. Yeah. You need to seek counseling or therapy if that comes to that point. And again, that's why, as a social scientist, I am not certified. And even as a certified mental health facilitator, I cannot prescribe, I cannot diagnose. Yeah. I can only help you to identify what you're going through, and I can recommend to you whether you can go to see a counselor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Or, the highest point would be the psychiatrist. A psychologist can help psychotherapy, and then a counselor can help you to discuss. Only the psychiatrist can prescribe medication. Yeah. Then you need to also practice self-care techniques. This is where when we talk about meditation and things like that, you need to find ways to overcome this stress that you're going through. And then if you find that things are not changing, you may want to consider, am I fit for this position? No, some people are afraid to take the step to step out of their comfort zone because, and again, during the economic downturn and what have you, if you quit, you might not get a job.
True.
Now, be smart. Don't quit. Do your homework first. And if you happen to land into a better position, then only you submit your resignation letter. Yeah. Some people, because, as I mentioned earlier, because the stress pushed them to what we call the point of no return, I quit. See, when the minute you say you quit, you have no way to fall back. Nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, there's no plan B.
No plan B. You may lose your pension if you have pension. So these are some of the things that, again, speaking from experience and working with people, I find that before you do anything irrational, plan. Yeah.
True.
And lastly, all of these things needs to be, maybe if you have a partner, husband or wife, discuss. This is a decision that you cannot make alone, because it will affect your family, it will affect people around you, your colleagues and what have you. So sometimes it may be helpful to discuss before you take any action. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry. Now, so from the perspective of an individual or an employee, let's shift over to the perspective of an employer. So how can an organization be a stigma-free environment and employees are encouraged to seek help for mental health issues?
Okay. Um, I guess because after I retired, I spend more time watching K-drama now. uh, when I compare the K-drama, Korean drama, and Malaysian drama, I see a marked difference. See, one of the marked difference is that in the K-drama, a lot of this mental health issues is highlighted through drama. Um, as an adult, what we call adult education person, we call it what we call serendipity learning or learning through observation. It's not directly people tell you what these things are, but when you go through a series of 16 weeks drama, you can see the phenomena. For example, if you watch a Crash Course in Romance, if you watch some of this K-drama, It's Okay to Be Not Okay, you can see some of the phenomenon in autism or autism spectrum disorder played out in drama. And then, wow, yes, I have those symptoms. Yes, my family has some of these things. Yeah, you see that. However, in Malaysian drama, we seem to be not highlighting some of these mental health issues. So one of the things I would like to say, if you want to learn what we call serendipitously, try to look at those drama and then see how all of these mental health issues pan out. So they talked about ASD or what you call autism spectrum disorder. They talked about post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of the dramas, Find Me in Your Memory, Hello My 20s, some of this, the word PTSD suddenly appear. And the beautiful thing about K-drama, they are so scientific where they even label each of these things. Yeah, this is some things that our Malaysian drama what do you call people can learn. You can educate through social media or drama.
True.
And personality disorders, because sometimes stress will push you to the point where your personality disorder, which has always been under control, to go beyond. And this is very dangerous. So that is one way where the individual can actually, after they get back from work, distress, watching K-drama. Now, how can an employer doing it? I'm not sure that whether employer wants to show K-drama at work. But Noni from UTP, she highlighted a simple acronym called CURE. And managers can cure. Now, what CURE stands for is C, care. Managers can give or provide what is necessary for health, welfare, and maintenance and protection of someone, meaning your supervisee or your subordinate. Now, how do you do that? By listening. Now, one of the things as a certified professional coach, I am also encouraging managers not to be coaches, but to employ some of the coaching techniques. One of the simple techniques, later on I will share with you, called GROW, can help. It can really help you to be a better listener. Yeah. So cure is care. Understand. Having listened to what your employee is telling you, try to empathize, interpret, and view. If you were in his or her situation, how would you overcome this? Now, managers also need to be very, very smart. In this environment that people call toxic work environment now, they simply label. There's so many phenomena now. I'm laughing at myself during retirement, looking at people, calling makan dedak lah, all of these words being used. People saying people who like to bodek the boss, kipas and all these things. Now, those are characteristics of toxic environment that from a person going through stress will actually contribute to him feeling even worse, not being able. Because I do not want to kipas my boss. I do not want to, be the gopher for my boss.
I just come here to complete my tasks.
Correct. Yeah. So, in so doing, the person is pendam dalam. Yeah. So, understand, put it in this person's perspective. Bukan kata he's trying to talk bad about another person. But if the same person say, for example, boss, boss perasan tak, you realize or not, I don't come to you with my problems. Or I don't go and, greet you when you come in the morning and what have you. Another boss say, why? So and so does that, that's why they find it is, some bosses tend to have their own cliques because these people really, surround them. Now, for people who are going through stress, that's the last thing they want to do. Yeah. What they're trying to do is they're trying to be an individual. They're trying to say that, evaluate me for what I'm worth, for what I produce. Yeah.
True.
Then respect. Some bosses, having listened that, wow, I never realized that, people were, bodek. People were just, coming up to me to do all these things. Yeah. And you find this, especially during KPI evaluation time. Don't. As a boss, and again, for the audience who are out there as bosses, be wary of people who do that to you. Yeah. Because it's the people who are the backbenchers who are actually producing the work. And they're not the ones who would go and show off. Some of these people, they show off, but they have nothing to show.
Yeah, sometimes it's the fact that some people are doing the job that they don't have the time to do that peacocking.
Peacocking, yes. They don't want to. It's just against them. Yeah. And lastly, empathize. Having listened to your employee, now empathize what they want to do. And that's why in coaching, because you are trained to listen and you are trained to be present, you don't want to be talking to your boss and your boss is, playing with his handphone or looking at notes and things like that. But as a boss, you listen with your heart. Then you will find out what this employee is going through. Yeah. So, Noni shared with me cure, and that is very helpful. Now, if you talk to a counselor, they use a different formula they call STPC. Again, I won't go into that because you have to be a counselor to do that.
Yeah.
But as a coach, I will share with you grow. If you are a boss and you want to use what we call the grow model, because grow model, you don't have to be a certified coach to practice it. G, goal. All right, Nazmi, now that you've told me what you're going through, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve from sharing with me? So if you say, for example, in your case, I want to overcome my stress. Good. I've heard R, the realities. These were the things that you went through, either at home or in the workplace, that is leading or providing, making you going through all of this stressful feeling that you're going through. Okay. Having listened to all of that, options. Remember just now I talked about do your homework? So Nazmi, what are the options that you have thought about that may be helpful to you?
To overcome the stress.
To overcome the stress. So in this case, if I was doing an actual coaching session with you, I will listen to all these different options that that you have come up with, and I say, okay, good. Now, of these three options, which of these three do you think is most manageable, given your resources and the time that you have? You say, I think I want to go with option A. All right. Okay, good, Nazmi. Now, W, way forward.
Way forward.
So, with option A, what is your way forward? What do you need to do? What can I do as your boss to help you achieve this? Remember, GROWCURE. Grow and cure.
It's a very, very helpful acronym for us to understand and practice, of course.
Inshallah.
All right. So, aside from seeking external help, what are the techniques that doctor can recommend for people to cope with workplace stress?
Okay. I was a lecturer for 30 years, 31 years. And one of the things I try to do after our daily prayers, if you Google, you'll find a lot of ayat. Either in the Quran or as well as ayat-ayat yang, for example, ayat penenang hati dan fikiran that you can recite that could actually help. Yeah. Again, I'm not an ustad, so I dare not prescribe any of this ayat. Yeah. But you can find some of this ayat. Now, one of the things that is very meaningful to me, Surah Ar-Rahman. If you remember Surah Ar-Rahman, what is the most important point in Surah Ar-Rahman?
Which favor would you deny? Is it something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Apa nikmat yang kau dustakan?
Yeah.
Yeah. When that is recited, if I'm not mistaken, 33 times in that surah,
Yeah.
it triggers you for all of this
The joys of life.
joys of life,
All the blessings that
the
we've been
blessings that
given.
you have. How can it compensate for the stress that you're going through? And Surah Ar-Rahman is one of those. Now, for people from other faith, go back to your holy books. There are things in phrases or ayats in the holy books that you can use. When I was in the States, one of the things that I was hanging out with my Christian friends, my Baha'i friends, we had Buddhists. One of the recitations that struck me was the recitation Desiderata. And then there was another that says, if I'm not mistaken, change what I can and deal with what I cannot. I think the exact phrase you can actually Google, you know. And then these are the things, and again, if you talk to a counselor, he will also look at your orbit. What are the things within your orbit that you can change, and what are the things in the orbit that you cannot? You should focus your energy on the things that you can change.
Is it similar to that one where it's like circle of concern,
Correct.
Influence or something?
Circle of influence. Yes. Yeah. So there are many ways of doing this. Now, for some of us, meditation that may work, may help. Early in the morning, after your morning prayers, meditate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people go into yoga. That may also help. Yeah. Some people have a mantra. It can be a mantra that, from the holy books. It can also be a mantra that you follow. I will do my best today.
Self-affirmations.
Self-affirmations. Yeah, self-affirmation. My friend Bhavani, she talks about gratitude.
Yes.
You can either do gratitude in the morning or at night. Meaning,
Before sleep.
what am I thankful for today? If you're doing it at the end of the day. Or, what am I thankful for today? If you're doing it before you start work. Yeah? So Bhavani has been wonderful in sharing with you. You can even have a workbook on what are the things that you are thankful for every day of the year. Yeah?
Does she keep a journal?
Yes, she keeps a journal.
Okay.
That's one of the things. Now I don't do journals. I'm very bad at that. I use my handphone. So in my calendar, if anything good happens to me on today, like today, you are, Nazmi, you are a good thing that happens to me today. You are in my handphone on my calendar, chatting with Nazmi. That actually, jogs my memory. Provided that I don't change my handphone often, and then I can save it.
Don't forget to back up.
Yeah, back up. Correct. And in the work environment,
Speaking of that, I think tying a daily experience to an emotion does help with the memory, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And you can explain this from a neuroscience standpoint also. Because the minute, there are 4 major hormones in your body. The minute you tie in, you'll be able to link your brain to the different hormones in your body. Yeah. So those are the simple things that you can do. Again, the internet is wonderful. There's so many things out there. Be careful about what you search and what you look for. But again,
Always have credible sources.
I always have credible sources. Yes. Yep.
True. All right. We are near approaching to the end of our show. So our next question, my next question would be, since Malaysia is now shifting its focus towards mental health care, by improving its facilities and implementing new and existing acts. So, do you have any comments on this movement, and how do we ensure that this is not a temporary solution or move?
My prayers is that it's not a temporary move, but it has been long-standing. If you notice in Berita Harian and I think some of the other newspapers, there was a headline, "Kita kurang infrastruktur, pakar sakit mental," about 3 days ago. On Mental Health Day, it came out this special. And you notice that came out of a report, Malaysian Mental Healthcare Performance, Technical Report 2016, back then. Now, in that newspaper article, kurang pangkar fasiliti jejas rawatan pesakit mental and what have you, it was highlighted by Dr. Hazli Zakaria, the former president of Malaysian Psychiatry Association. We only have 600 psychiatrists in Malaysia versus 3,000 that we need for the country. So that explains why the ratio is 1 to 75,000 Malaysian. One psychiatrist to 75,000. Whereas we should be under WHO 1 to 10,000. Yeah? One psychiatrist to 10,000 of the population. Now, we also find that KKM in the report highlighted there's so many acts already in place for mental health. However, WHO have highlighted that some of these acts will need to be reviewed or already ready for review. And I think KKM is aware of that. Since 2012, some of these acts have already been reviewed. Now, simple case. For you to be a psychiatrist or to be a psychologist, to go through the academic program, there is an act that binds you. Similarly with nursing, 1950, Nursing Act 1950. Nurses are bound by the Nurses Act. So psychiatrists and psychologists, counselors, they have their acts. Now, what happens is that it takes between 3 to 5 years to produce such professionals, such clinical persons. Now, what needs to happen if, since ASM is now championing the ecosystem under my STIE, my Science, Technology and Innovation Economy and framework, we need to look at an ecosystem solution to all of this. I am also so happy that one of our fellows, Datuk Sri Zaini, is now the KSU of KKM. Yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because you said hope that this will not be a short-term effect. We already have, since 2020, Rotary Malaysia started the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing. It is represented by strategic partners, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Higher Education, Women, Family and Community Development, Human Resources, Youth and Sports, Communications and Multimedia, Malaysian AIDS Foundation, then the WHO, UNICEF, UNCHR, International Organization for Migration, and the Rotary Clubs.
Very comprehensive.
We already have that, just like the National Commission, Council for Cost of Living. We already have this coalition. Use this coalition to come up with solutions using the ecosystem framework that we have under ASM to overcome. Because when we talk about the lack of psychiatrists, the lack of psychologists or counselors in Malaysia, it's an ecosystem phenomenon. Because Even in the report, Malaysian Mental Healthcare Report, it was already highlighted. Malaysia has shortages in terms of the mental health facilities and the medical health facilities itself to overcome this. Let alone the staff to manage it. Yeah, you talk about the psychiatrists, the counselors, and what have you. Now, don't forget the psychiatric nurses. Don't forget the assistant medical officers. All of these things needs to be laid out on the ecosystem. I think Prof. Mahendran and another one of our fellow had laid out a 6-step. Follow that 6-step and follow the ecosystem. And most importantly, look at the stakeholder platform. Everybody on the platform needs to be touched. You know, I love this American, point of light, award, where one person touches so many points in the lives of the people that they were. We have Miss Anja from Malaysia, Bakar. She is one of those point of lights.
Oh.
She is one of those people out there who is propagating, for example, to come up with social enterprises, to come up with, again, maaf cakap the pad, sustainable pads for women. Now, that is just one example. These are the kind of people that needs to be touched in the ecosystem, because all of them contribute to this stress management ecosystem. Yeah.
All right. So, based on today's conversation, I would say I'm very positively enlightened.
Alhamdulillah.
And I hope everyone who's listening will be enlightened as well. And my understanding of the workplace stress is already improved. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we end this enlightening episode, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Zainal Ariffin Ahmad for his invaluable insights and guidance on the critical topic of workplace stress. So, Dr. Zainal has illuminated workplace stress myths, the signs, the consequences, and also provided some practical solutions to navigate those challenges effectively. So, it is crucial to recognize that mental health is just as important as physical health, especially in the workplace. So, we must create a compassionate, stigma-free environment where employees will feel safe in communicating their mental health concerns. And particularly as Muslims, we seek solace in our faith. So we have Quranic verses like from Surah Al-Baqarah that reminds us to seek help through patience and prayer. So as Malaysia and many other nations take steps to improve mental health care, let us work collectively also as individuals, as workers, as parents, as teachers, to ensure that these actions are not temporary, but part of a sustained effort to prioritize mental health well-being. So once again, I would like to remind everyone that we are not alone in our journey towards better mental health. So let's make every day World Mental Health Day at the workplace. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, take care and be well.